I started doing archives consulting and freelance work last year. I have many years of experience as an archivist and archives manager, but I am learning the business aspects as I go. One thing that I struggle with is billable hours. What's billable? What's not? I also find that I sometimes underreport and thus undercharge my hours to the client if a task takes longer than I think it should. And I have thought and done all of these things. You are not alone. So, first one, what's billable? Everything. Every time you type out an email, every time you answer their call, every time you type up some notes, everything is billable. If you wouldn't be doing it, like if they weren't your client and you wouldn't be doing it, then that means that it's billable to that client. So keep that in mind. And then related to that, the underreporting and undercharging, it really leads to then an undervaluing of yourself, which is a violation and disrespect to yourself, which is some strong language there, but hopefully to serve as motivation for you are the only one who can say what your worth is. And if you are not holding to that or respecting that, it psychologically it can get very dark and difficult in there, and I have been there, which is why I put it that way. So let that serve as motivation in terms of thinking about the what's billable and then making sure that you are reporting and charging for the work that you're doing. I definitely get um, the sentiment of, oh, that took longer than I thought it would or estimated, or that took longer than I would have liked it to, because you ran into very reasonable natural project hiccups, etc. Do resist that, and still charge for it, because that is a real life circumstance that happens all the time. And no matter what, it goes back to, if you did the work for them, then charge for it. So I definitely, I feel your tender heart in terms of wanting to be really good about that, but you do need to put yourself first. And part of that is because if you don't, it's going to become increasingly stressful, especially if work is taking longer and you're not charging for it. You are not recouping any of those hours to do other work. So you're costing yourself twice. You're costing yourself from what the client should be paying for, and you're costing yourself because you also can't work on anything else because you're doing that work for free. So don't do that. It is stressful. And then also it can damage you, your work, and your client, and the relationship that you have with your client when you are in this situation, because you put yourself in this situation. It hurts you because it's stressful. It hurts you financially. It hurts your work because, at least in when I am in this mode, there's that stress to, oh, I should hurry up and do it because I'm not charging for it, or it shouldn't have taken this long. I should wrap this up thing, which is never what you want to bring with you when you're working on a project. And then also with your client, like your client doesn't want to, hopefully, if it's a good client, doesn't want you to be doing this work for free or feel stressed or cost you money. And in the end, whether they realize it, obviously or not, is they also don't want you to be performing that work in that mode either, because you're not at your best. And then you can always make an exception. So for the many projects I've done throughout the years, I've gotten fairly good at estimating, which is something you will get the muscle memory for too as you go along. And you can always make an exception. So if, for example, it's a grant and there isn't any money left, you can make an exception and donate some of your time. One way you could do that that's beneficial to you is if you donate a product that you could do a tax write-off for. So like the end product for that grant is a report is a product. I am not a tax accountant, so definitely ask your tax accountant about that, but that is something that I have been told. And exception wise, also, there's always room to negotiate. So even if the scope of work had you doing A, B, and C, but B took extra long, and so there's not uh, as much time for C, then negotiate the scope, bring the scope down a little bit so that it matches what time you have left, or have them increase the budget so that it can actually, you can complete C in the way that you are supposed to, which gets back to just being honest and communicate with the client in terms of, this is where we're at, this happened, this is a normal part of projects, these things happen, this is where I'm at, what would you like to do with this? Would you like to review and revise the scope? Would you like to increase the budget? Like, let's work on this together, kind of thing. So hopefully that helped.